mic button. This is the call to order for the March 27th meeting of the Santa Clara County Planning Commission. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll for us?
Good evening, Commissioner Hederle.
Here.
Commissioner Cohen.
Here.
Commissioner Belska.
Here.
Commissioner O'Donohue.
Here.
Commissioner Levy.
Present.
Vice Chairperson Rouser.
Present.
And Chairperson Escobar.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Please stand if you are able to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening. My name is Amy Escobar, and I am the Chair of the Planning Commission. On behalf of the Commission, welcome to today's meeting. At this time, please turn off or mute all electronic devices, including cell phones that may interrupt the meeting. I also wanted to pause for 1 second and welcome our new Commissioner, Commissioner Headley, on the end. Welcome. The first item on the agenda is public comment. This item is reserved for persons who wish to address the Commission on any matter within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission that is not on the agenda today. The law does not permit Commission action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda except under special circumstances. Members of the public who wish to address the Commission on a non-agendized item should request to speak at this time by giving a request to speak form to the Deputy Clerk if you are in chambers, or by using the raising hand icon if attending virtually. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
We have no speakers in chambers. We do have one hand raised in the Zoom room. Sarah Kutrignelli, please accept the unmute to begin speaking. You will have 3 minutes if this is on a non-agendized item. Please accept the unmute to begin speaking.
Supervisors. I live in San Martin on Marie Court, a cul-de-sac of 6 homes. I would like you to please address the zoning codes for the allowance of the increasing number of mental health facilities. Back in 2022, when I first addressed this issue, there were only 2 near me. One had opened right next door. Now there are 8. 8, I will tell you. 6 of them are within 1.5 miles of my home. I live in a cul-de-sac, only 6 homes on this area. We have followed Supervisor Arena's instructions to do our due diligence, but where is hers and any of yours to assist the residents of our community in San Martin? When will you put a number onto what is to be assumed and considered saturation? When will you address our safety concerns? Law enforcement on our street is there so often that we have to keep a log of it so we can keep track. When will you require for these for-profit entities to notify residents of when they are going to be here so that we can be notified of licensing to address our concerns? When will you address the issues and concerns and the financial strains that are put on law enforcement and local EMS resources? When will you stop putting the burden on the taxpayers and the residents of our community? When we have filed our complaints, we have only been told that these are not our problems and we don't deal with this. Department of Healthcare Services says they only deal with jurisdiction over compliance with Title 22. County says they don't deal with for-profit unless there is a contract. How about starting small, supervisors? How about just addressing the code? How about just addressing the number which is considered saturation? Because again, we are now up to 8. We started out with 2 in 2022. They are sprouting up like weeds in my small community. How about we start with for-profit? How about, because we are in an unincorporated area of the county, these for-profit entities know that there is a loophole in my community and that you supervisors do nothing. You have been proving them right since they have been popping up here since 2022. Do something for the residents in my community, not for the out of town, even out of state businesses that are ruining our lives and putting our safety at risk. And if you don't believe me, check the sheriff logs, check the EMS reports. In fact, check the reports on these businesses that are readily available. Do something. Help the people that voted you in. Help the residents in these communities. Think of our safety. our concerns, our own emotional stress and anxiety. Do something for us. Why do we have to bear the burden of this? Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes our speakers.
Okay. Moving forward to item number 4, which is the consent calendar. Commissioners, do you have any questions, changes, or discussion on the consent calendar? Are there any members of the public that wish to speak? Madam Clerk?
We have no speakers on the item.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept and a second. And if you wouldn't mind calling for the roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hedderly.
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donoghue.
Yes.
Commissioner Levy.
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Rouser.
I approve.
Chairperson Escobar.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
There was one more commissioner.
Oh,
Commissioner Belska.
Yes.
Very sorry.
Yes.
The item carries.
Okay.
Motion carries. Sorry.
thank you.
I'd already moved on.
Item number 5, receive report relating to the San Martin Planning Advisory Committee. Do we have a report? No? Yes?
I
Ah,
do
Here she is.
believe we do.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sharon Luna, and I'm the chair for the San Martin Planning Advisory Committee. Just a bit ago, you heard the frustration that just 1 out of 45 neighbors are experiencing. So I just wanted to let you know it was discussed at the San Martin Planning Advisory meeting, and we are working with the county CEO, and we are working with others trying to get a handle on this concern. But last night was our meeting, and what we, as the SIMPAC members, made of item number 6 on your agenda, your agenda was to consider a 2-year extension for the Cordova project, and the vote was 6-0 with 1 absent. And this was an advisory, a favorable advisory recommendation. So we wanted you to know there were a lot of questions that were asked and questions that were turned in ahead of time, so we had an understanding of what was taking place with the request of the 2-year extension. And the questions were answered by Samuel, and we appreciate that. So we went ahead with the 2-year extension. Also, what was discussed is the community is very concerned in regard to the builder's remedy projects that are in preliminary stages with in San Martin. There's one at Fitzgerald, and also Fitzgerald and Yaugus Depot. This is over 600 homes on an area in San Martin, as you know or may not know. We're on wells and septic systems. We don't have city amenities. Our roads are rural. We're trying to work out to where we can get, this taken care of, but it's been a very, very long process. The lack of approving or getting the updated zoning ordinance that has been going on since 2018. I remember being in these types of meetings, and several of the members of the community are concerned with why it has not been updated. Why do things take so long? This is a particular concern with those that are interested in agricultural and agritourism in our area. So it is a concern, and we will be looking into it to see what is going on. As you heard, the influx of mental health residential facilities in San Martin is a real concern. And what the speaker did not say to you is that these homes are in a 1.5 mile radius. It's not like they're spread out. It's within a 1.5 miles. And then what was exciting is one of our residents, Dan Keith, he was a longtime resident, was recognized by Supervisor Arenas and team for his contributions to the San Martin and beyond community. That is my report, and thank you, and it's nice to see you all in person.
Thank you. Are there any questions or clarifications on the report? Commissioner Bauska.
I was just curious, what zoning change was being referred to? Something, a zoning change that started in 2018? Zoning update?
You can come back up if you wouldn't mind, please.
Sorry, you referenced a zoning amendment or a zoning change that you said had started in 2018.
Agricultural.
Oh, so,
And for agricultural and tourism, it's been long in the works. I think Jacqueline?
Jacqueline, Director of Planning. Are you talking about the rural zoning update? Mm-hmm. It's being processed, so it's not tied. I don't know what she's referring to, but the rural zoning update is being processed through the department, so it'll be coming through. That's what I can tell you. We're
sorry.
processing the rural zoning.
but what is it?
It's a rural zoning update. It used to be called, what was it called? Hold on, just give me a minute.
You're talking about local serving?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Local serving is what the zoning used to be called, and we're changing that to rural zoning update, and we're bringing that forward. I'm not going to discuss it because it's not before you today,
Okay.
but that is what is coming forward to the Planning Commission and will go to the board.
Okay, thank you.
It'll first go to Hewlett. But that does not have anything to do with builder's remedy applications.
No, it was
Let's-
two different.
Let's
No, I
be
didn't
clear
say that.
about that, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't say that. It was for the, the updates. And I know that it hasn't been presented. I was giving a readout of what was discussed at our meeting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving forward to item number 6, consider a 2-year extension of a concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit, cemetery permit, architecture and site approval, design review, building site approval, and grading approval approved by the Board of Supervisors on March 24th, 2020 for the Cordova Center project. CEQA, it's using the prior CEQA document, which is the Environmental Impact Report certified by the Board of Supervisors on March 24th, 2020. The owner is South Valley Islamic Center. The applicant is Sal Akhtar. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Property address location is 14045 Monterey Road in San Martin, APN number 779-06-002. Zoning is RR-5AC-D1-SM, also RR-5AC-D1. It is located in Supervisorial District 1 and is file number PLN 16-2145-EXT, ID number 123647. With a possible action of receiving public comment and an approval or denial request for a 2-year extension of the concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit, cemetery permit, architecture and site approval, design review, building site approval, and grading approval, subject to conditions of approval. Staff, do we have a presentation?
Apologies to the chair. Before they begin, a quick note for the record that we did not have any speakers on item number 5.
My apologies. Now, staff, do you have a presentation?
Yes, hello. Thank you, Chair Escobar, for the lead-in. I am Principal Planner Samuel Gutierrez with the Department of Planning and Development. I'll be presenting this item to you. To begin, I do want to note give a visual of the project's location. Here on the screen, you can see it is on that starred property that's outlined. Again, the location is at 14045 Monterey Road, and it does have surrounding land uses that are a mixture of uses between residential, industrial, infrastructure, and commercial land uses. And here we have the zoning designations showing that there is a split in the zoning designations along the property and a general plan designation of rural residential. To give a brief overview of the project description, the Cordoba Center project consists of a 9,000 square foot religious worship hall, 14,500 square foot multi-use building, a 2,500 square foot maintenance building, a 3,380 square foot caretaker's residence, a 3.55 acre cemetery, a 0.4 acre youth camp, 14 wooden tent platforms for the youth camp, an 0.6 acre orchard, and it does include also a community plaza and parking lots associated with the project. The project entitlements consisted of concurrent land use permits of a use permit, cemetery permit, architectural site approval permit, design review permit, building site approval, and grading approval for all of the development features that I just listed before. The project on appeal received an approval by the Board of Supervisors on March 24th, 2020, with conditions of approval and an environmental impact report certified with the mitigation monitoring or reporting program. And what is before you today is an extension of time request of that approval. The county ordinance code details in section 520-180 an extension of time to establish uses, which states when a permittee requests additional time within which to establish a use beyond the time limit provided in section 520-170, one extension may be granted. If requested in writing prior to the expiration date of the permit, accompanied by an application form, an explanation of circumstances necessitating the extension request, and the appropriate filing fee established by the Board of Supervisors. An extension of time shall be for no more than 2 years to commence upon the expiration date of the initial permit approval. On January 15, 2025, the applicant submitted a request of an extension of time in advance of the approval expiration, which would be March 24, 2025, paid the associated fees, and provided the explanation of circumstances for the extension. The extension of time request proposes no changes whatsoever to the project as approved by the Board of Supervisors, nor to the conditions of approval that were approved, and there is no change to the CEQA analysis, nor is it warranted or required because this is a pure extension request of time. This is the first and only request for an extension of time under the Ordinance Code Section 520-180 that the applicant has submitted for this project. This project, as located within the San Martin planning area, is subject to the purview of San Martin Planning Advisory Committee, and the extension of time was considered by the San Martin Planning Advisory Committee yesterday, March 26th, 2025. The SIMPAC members voted in favor of an approval recommendation to be forwarded to you, the Planning Commission. And given that the applicant submitted the requirements under the code in a timely fashion well in advance of the expiration date, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the request for a 2-year extension of the concurrent land use application consisting of a land use permit, cemetery permit, architectural site approval, design review, building site approval, grading approval, subject to the conditions of approval. And as I conclude my presentation, I do want to note a minor correction for the staff report officially in the record. On packet page 7, there's a second note near the bottom of page 7 that says the applicant submitted on January 14th their request for an extension. It's actually January 15th. Apologies for that typo. That concludes staff's presentation.
Commissioners, are there any questions of staff? Okay. Prior to opening the public hearing, is there anybody that wishes to disclose any ex parte communication or site visits? I will go first. I did not have communication, although I did receive multiple messages in my personal LinkedIn account that I did not respond to, but no site visits. And Vice Chair Rouser.
I had an ex parte communication with the applicant, and I drive by that property every day.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, we will open the public hearing. And is the applicant present, and would you like to speak? Yes, please come forward.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sal Akhtar. I'm the applicant for South Delhi Islamic Community. And I stood before you a little more than 5 years ago, and some of you were actually on that planning commission who granted us that use permit. Little that we anticipated that we would be here again today for this extension. So you would think that 5 years is a long enough time to do something. Well, of course, we did not anticipate COVID. So after receiving the use permit here, the project was appealed by the opponents. It went to the Board of Supervisors. It was finally granted through a unanimous vote, I believe, through a resolution in March of 2020. And then soon thereafter, within a month, the county and all the rest of the world, as we know it, came to pretty much a halt. And those conditions persisted almost 18, 19 months beyond that. And once the COVID restrictions lifted and life started to normalize, it's not like something ended and now you can go back to school. The effects linger primarily in the development sector. The labor shortages, a lot of people retired, a lot of people left, a lot of people are not with us, unfortunately. And so we had trouble finding enough staffing just to get our plans and plan sets put together. It's a complex, large project. And that took us almost a little over a year time to get the whole team together and develop the plans to submit our first of the many applications, which was grading permit, because that is a gating factor. Behind that, everything else comes. So we submitted in 23, June of 23, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And we have gone through several iterations. As you know, there's in a complex project like this, you submit, you get red lines, you resubmit. And unfortunately, those cycles have been much longer than we anticipated, again, because of the pent-up demand and the backlogs that existed here with the county and also with our own consultants on both sides of it. So it was not something that we overlooked. We have been trying diligently, and we have done a lot of work on this application that was not gated by a building or grading permit. For example, establishment of an endowment fund for the cemetery. For example, doing some of the surveys that was required prior to breaking grounds and whatnot, a botanical survey, there was a greenhouse gas emission survey. There are other things that were not gated that have been proceeded. We have also put up fence, we have put up trees around the perimeter that were originally in the plans to allow them time to grow and those that not require any kind of permits. We have established an agricultural well on that site through permits, of course, but everything that we could do in the meanwhile while we were waiting for the process to take its course. So here we are today. Unfortunately, we've expired on that, so we're asking this commission to grant us the 2-year extension, and we are quite certain that we should be able to establish one or more uses as permitted by that use permit during that time period. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Thank you.
All right.
You might want to stay right where you're at. Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant? Okay, I see none. You can go ahead and say thank you so much. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers on this item?
We have no speakers in chambers, and one moment for the Zoom room. We have no virtual speakers.
Okay, is there any additional comments from staff? No. Okay. Well, we know the applicant doesn't have any. Okay. No, I thought you were going to comment. No? Okay. I will now close the public hearing and bring the item back to us. Is there possibly a motion or discussion? Commissioner Rouser, Vice Chair Rouser. My apologies.
I just had a kind of a question for staff. What approvals need to happen that could potentially stall this project that are outside the department of the planning department? Are there other agencies that are involved that potentially could provide hiccups along the way? Because two years may come and go pretty quickly, so I just want to get an understanding, is this the home stretch, or are there other agencies that could potentially just really drag this out?
Through the chair, yes, so there's multiple agencies beyond the Department of Planning and Development. We have the Department of Environmental Health, Roads and Airports, our other departments that are part of the project review, obviously for access and water in those cases. They review concurrently with us the development permits. As of yet, in my professional opinion, I cannot see anything that would cause a hiccup, as you phrased it. The application that they need to move forward with to start the development is the grading and drainage permit, which is actively being worked on now. And once they receive that permit issuance, then they could prep the site for development and the subsequent permits to establish the different buildings that I noted in my presentation can move forward and be issued once they've completed that permit review process. It would be relatively straightforward, as noted by the applicant. They've established a well on site already with permits, so they do have that ready to go as far as water. And they do have immediate access off of Monterey, so the access wouldn't be that difficult. The site itself is not an entirely difficult site. It's just a complex project that has several moving pieces that need to be considered at once.
Okay, so I do actually have in front of me the recommended possible motion, so I will make a motion to approve a 2-year extension of the concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit, cemetery permit, architectural and site approval, design review, building site approval, and grading approval, subject to conditions of approval.
I'm going to go ahead and second your motion. I have one question of staff. What dictates the time frame of the extension for the 2 years? What is it written that it is only a 2-year extension, or is it possible to adjust that? And I only ask given the list, the laundry list you just read of other departments that need to give their approval, and I would hate for them to be so close and have to come back again if it's within our jurisdiction to be able to say, can we give you 3 instead of 2, if that makes sense?
Yes, I understand the question. Section 520-180 specifically speaks to the extension of time to establish a use, and that specifically states that one-time extension can be requested only for the project, and that extension cannot exceed 2 years.
Okay, so my follow-up to that would be if they're in the process and they're not completed within that 2 years, they don't need another extension, they just keep going, because they've already started to establish the use, correct?
If they established one of the primary
of them.
uses, then they would codify their use permit.
Okay.
And then they could continue.
Okay, to
Yes.
work through their list. Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay. Vice Chair Rouser.
Yeah, I just want to add, not to delay things, but in my humble opinion, as we make changes, I think the 2-year extension should be something that could be done administratively, and if denied, then appealed to this board. But I think paying the fees and all this kind of stuff, I don't think is necessary in my mind. I think subject to the director or something, that would be my recommendation going forward.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Oh, sorry, Commissioner Levy.
Yes, thank you. When they submit this request for additional time, does that open the project up to comment and additional, potential, additional, sorry, but, is it open up to comment and to provide additional requirements?
As noted in my presentation, there is no findings required for this, and there is no changes suggested, so this is not a modification of the project. It is a pure extension of time of what the Board of Supervisors approved in March 24th of 2020. So
All right.
the code does not provide language that it would open up the project.
So it doesn't open up the project to additional conditions?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Belska?
Yeah, thank you. Just for my clarification, what does establishing a use actually mean? Does it mean, is getting the grading permit granted mean establishing a use, or do they have to break ground, or do they have to get all of the permits?
So they would have to, of course, get the grading permit issued because that's the base permit to actually construct on the site. But they would need to construct and occupy one of the buildings because those buildings also pertain to particular uses. So for example, if it were the worship hall, that would be the construction and final occupancy of the worship hall. That would, or it could be the community center building. That could be the construction and final occupancy of that community center building. Those are the types of things that would need to be completed by the 2-year point.
So you're saying within 2 years, they have to get all of their permits and build an entire building?
No,
Or, well, a building,
correct. That's one of
Well,
the primary use buildings,
but
yes.
still get permits and build a building in 2 years?
Correct.
Yeah, I think I agree they need more than 2 years.
Clarification. One of the primary uses is a cemetery, right?
That would be correct.
And there are some things that have to happen before the cemetery can be put into use, but not necessarily
Correct.
one of those big buildings. So I just want to
Yes,
clarify
I
that.
just listed options. Those could be options as well.
Any further discussion, questions, clarifications? No. Okay. We do have a motion from Commissioner Rouser, and I second that motion. And no more discussion. So I will restate that the motion is to approve the request for a 2-year extension of the concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit, cemetery permit, architecture and site approval, design review, building site approval, and grading approval, subject to conditions of approval. Madam Clerk, would you please call?
Commissioner Hederle.
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen.
Yes.
Commissioner Belska.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donohue.
I approve.
Commissioner Levy.
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Rouser.
I approve.
Chairperson Escobar.
I approve.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And this is a Levine Act also? Is this a Levine Act item?
This is a Levine Act item, but we don't need to make the announcement anymore. But looking at
Elizabeth.
county council,
We're
maybe it's
looking
a
at
good
you,
idea that I
Elizabeth.
do it. So give me one moment.
Okay.
And I will pull it up. Apologies for the delay. Because we changed the rules, I don't have it where it would normally be.
Madam Clerk, do you want me to read what's on the agenda for the VNACT? The
One
printed?
moment,
I know
think
it's
just-
longer than what you read, but
It's a lot longer than what
I know, that's why we're
I am.
wondering.
I don't, it is. Okay. Thank you, Cynthia, for finding it for me. Item number 6 is subject to the Levine Act. Any party or their agents and any participant who has a financial interest or their agents must disclose on the record a contribution of more than $250 made to a commissioner as described on page 3 of the agenda.
Thank you. Item number 7, public hearing to consider a concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit, architecture and site approval and grading approval for construction of a new 8,894 square foot church building and a 12,058 square foot multipurpose building. A parking lot was 174 spaces, an open courtyard, a driveway, new landscaping, and on-site improvements, including a detention basin and new septic system for the Southridge Baptist Church. CEQA mitigated negative declaration. Owner is Southridge Baptist Church. Applicant Amanda Musi Verdell. Hannah Brunetti. Property address is Piercy Road in San Jose. APN number 678-13-012. Zoning is HS-1, D1, excuse me. It is located in Supervisorial District 1 and is file number PLN 23-009, and it is ID number 123328, with possible actions of approving the adoption of the mitigated negative declaration, making the required CEQA findings, and adopting the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and also possibly to grant or deny the concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit, architecture and site approval, and grading approval subject to the conditions of the approval. Staff, do you have a presentation? Thank you.
I do. Thank you. Well, hello. Good evening, Chairperson Escobar and Commissioners. My name is Laura Tran with the Department of Planning and Development. I am here today to present on a concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit with architecture and site approval and grading approval for the construction of a new church by the Southridge Baptist Church Group. So to start off, the site is located in unincorporated San Jose, specifically at the corner of Piercy Road and Silicon Valley Road, southeast of Highway 101 and east of Hellier Avenue. The property is a 5.84 acre site, and the lot is surrounded by low-density residential uses and vacant lands. The boundary for the city of San Jose is directly across from the property on Piercy Road, and the property has a general plan designation of hill size and a zoning of HSD1, which stands for hill size and a design review combined zoning district. A brief overview of the project is that the applicant is applying for a use permit with architecture and site approval and grading approval to build a church along with a multi-purpose building, a parking area for guests and visitors, a new septic system, and landscaping for the site. Once built, the applicant proposes to hold regular Sunday worship gatherings for the residents of Santa Clara County and special events throughout the year. As mentioned in the staff report, the applicant is proposing construction of an 8,894 square foot church along with a 12,058 square foot multi-purpose building. There will be an open courtyard and a patio communal area that connects the two buildings. A parking lot is proposed with 174 parking spaces, including 7 spaces for accessible parking. On-site improvements such as a driveway, a new septic system, and a retaining wall are also proposed. The applicant is also proposing earth-toned and neutral colors for the exterior of the buildings, and landscaping is proposed for the entire site with plantings covering the perimeter of the property. So a brief overview of the proposed use, including the operational hours. The church is proposed to be open on Monday to Thursday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. with church services within that time frame. The church proposes to be closed for business on Fridays, with Saturday only open for special events. The church also proposes 174 parking spaces on site with 10 employees on the premises during business hours. Approximately 50 people are estimated to be in attendance during the week, with approximately 375 people on Sunday and for special events. As the property is in the rural zoning district, it is subject to the county local serving policy, and under this policy, the project was determined to exceed the 75th percentile value for people and square footage. In that regard, the Rural Resources Impact Study was submitted by the applicant, which is added to the agenda packet, where the study evaluated aesthetics, open space and habitat, agricultural production, watersheds, traffic, and noise. Staff also want to mention that these resources areas were also evaluated in the CEQA document. Although the proposed project is larger than the 75th percentile threshold for size and in scale than the majority of other similar institutional uses, the project is located east from two major thoroughfares, that is Highway 101 and Hellier Avenue, and it is across the street from a future industrial use within the city of San Jose. The site does not contain sensitive rural resources such as agricultural production, sensitive biological communities, or a scenic open space, and the proposed operation of the church would not substantially impact nearby rural residences, roads, or agricultural production. And as I mentioned, additionally, the resources noted in the local serving analysis were also evaluated in the CEQA document, and mitigation measures were incorporated as conditions of approval for the project for resources such as biology and noises. Therefore, the local serving finding can be made. As mentioned in the staff report, the project meets the zoning ordinance for use permit and ASA, as it is a religious institution use in the Hillside zoning district. The project conforms to the applicable general plan policies as the use is low density and support the local community in the South Bay. The project also complies with the ordinance codes for drainage, parking, traffic, noise, lighting, and fire safety, as the project has been conditioned not to have any significant effect on the environment. The project also meets the findings related to architecture and site approval, as stated in the staff report. And the project is also consistent to the grading findings, as the site is only using grading that is necessary to establish the religious institution use. The grading conforms to the natural topography of the property as it utilizes the flattest area on the site. And finally, the project will not endanger public or private property since the grading is entirely contained on the site. The environmental impacts of the project have been evaluated in the mitigated negative declaration and included as an attachment in the staff report. The M&D concluded that the project environmental effects could be avoided with mitigations incorporated in the following 5 areas for air quality, biology, greenhouse gas emissions, noise, and wildfire. Staff wants to add that we have not received any comments from the public on the CEQA document, and there have only been 3 public comments received related to the application as of today that are in support of the project. Therefore, staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt the CEQA mitigated negative declaration, make the required CEQA findings, adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and make the required local serving finding, and grant the concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit with architecture and site approval and grading approval, subject to the conditions of approval. That concludes staff's presentation. I am happy to answer any questions the commissions may have.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions of staff? Commissioner Headley, correct?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I saw the map in the packet showing where the parcel is, but it was very difficult to determine where the boundaries of that zone, that hillside zone, extend. I wonder if you can tell me how those other properties that you described in the project area description, the industrial project, future project across the street, the one half a mile away, are any of those also in the hillside zone?
Sure, thank you for the question, through the chair, if I may. Thank you for the question again. The industrial uses area directly across from the property is actually within the city of San Jose. And further north to the northwest of the property, and probably to better show you, basically northwest, it's basically within the city of San Jose boundaries. So the hillside zoning district is to the east. So from the property that is bounded in turquoise right there, those are the hillsides zoning district.
So to the northeast of there is hillside.
Yes.
And what about either side of that parcel where it looks like it's currently undeveloped between that parcel and the housing?
I'm assuming where am I?
I mean, kind of to the right of the right-hand blue line and to the left of the
This right here?
left-hand blue line.
Is this the parcel that
No,
you're?
further down off on Piercy Road on the one side. Yeah,
to-
there. So that space there to the, just north of the
This
houses.
space right here?
Yep. Is that in the hillside zone?
That is also in the hillside zoning.
And what about the other side of the relevant parcel?
So this subdivision right here is within the boundary for the city of San Jose.
Yeah, no, I meant on the other side, the northwest.
This part
side.
right here,
Nope, other side of Piercy Road.
other side,
Literally above where it says Piercy Road.
right here.
Yeah, between
Yep.
those
This
buildings
is
and the
within the
parcel we're
hillside.
talking about.
And this is the hillside zoning district.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So this would be the kind of the first encroachment into that hillside zone.
So this property right here, all of this that basically is to the east of Piercy Road is within the hillside zoning district.
And that does not include any of those commercial or industrial uses you cited in the description?
No, the industrial uses is directly across from the property, which is this, and then further along, there is actually an industrial site. It's a facility that is within the boundary of the city of San Jose.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure I don't have another question before I let go of the microphone. Bear with me for just a second. I think that does me for now. Thank you.
You can always ask again before we move on after this,
Great.
okay? If it
Thanks.
comes to you. Commissioner Belska.
Hi, thank you. So I have actually quite a few questions, I apologize, but they were sent to the department ahead of time, so hopefully we can get through this quickly. My first question is, was there a design review held for this and story poles erected, or is this project exempt?
Through the chair, if I may, thank you for the question, Commissioner Belska. So the zoning district is HSD1. The use of this property is proposed for non-residential. The design review ordinance, specifically section 3.2 and 5.5, is for residential use. So the non-residential component of this use is reviewed under the architecture and site approval review. So that is part of the review of the aesthetics, the architecture, such as that. Design review is for residential use, which this application is not for residential use.
If I may, through the chair, Jacqueline Anciano, Director of Planning and Development. So were there story poles put up for this development?
So to answer the question, the story poles is not required for this development.
Is that clarified somewhere in the zoning ordinance, that design review is exclusively for residential and no other uses? I looked through the zoning ordinance and couldn't find, I'm asking the question because I couldn't find anything in there that specifies that design review is for residential only.
If I could, through the chair, this is Robert Salisbury. I'm the county zoning administrator and principal planner for this project. The zoning ordinance, design review is primarily utilized for single-family residential and other residential development. The zoning ordinance does not specifically call that out, but there was discussion early in the stages of this project about whether design review would be appropriate and necessary for this project. And because there's significant overlap between ASA findings, design review findings, and because of the relatively low visibility of the project, according to our GIS system, we did decide that there was no value in requiring a design review application and making design review findings. So we did exempt this project as a zoning administrator from design review. However, of course, it is, if it's the desire of the Planning Commission to ask for design review findings, you can, of course, ask for this item to be continued. We can come back in a month and bring you and explain how the project meets design review findings. But again, because of the significant overlap between ASA findings, design review findings, and the specific characteristics of the project site, we did decide to exempt the project from design review.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure if it was explicitly exempted, then that makes sense. Thank you. Okay, moving on. The CEQA initial report in the hydrology section determines that the impact to surface water is less than significant by stating that only 10,579 square feet of the site would be converted to impervious surfaces. In fact, that's an order of magnitude less than what is actually being converted, which is 104,000 square feet, which is basically 40% of the parcel is being converted to impervious surfaces. So I feel like that determination in the CEQA report is being based on a very underestimated amount of actual impact. Can you please address that?
Sure, through the chair, if I may. So the 10,000, there's actually a typo error right there, so it actually should be 104, 104,000 specifically. Let me go to. So it should be 104,000 for the impervious area, which is, I believe it's more than 60%. So the drainage itself, the study finds that it doesn't negate the analysis of the drainage for the M&D. And I'm not sure if zoning administrator Salisbury would like to.
Yeah, if I could, through the chair, this is Robert Salisbury. I'm the zoning administrator and manager of the major project section. So as Ms. Tran was pointing out, there was a typo in the staff report. It said 110,579, but it's actually 104,579. So the 4 was left out of the initial study. But the bottom line is we have programmatic ways of dealing with drainage, and when certain quantities of impervious surface are exceeded in a project, then additional, more stringent requirements come into place about how to manage and contain runoff from sites. And the bottom line is that our grading and drainage ordinance requires peak flow volumes of drainage post-development to be no worse than the site drained prior to development. And the project was reviewed by our land development engineering staff, and the site was designed to contain the runoff from the site on site. It's routed to detention basins, and there it's metered and released into the San Jose's storm drainage system. But again, at peak flow volumes that are equivalent to the way the site and the volumes of drainage from the site currently. And the analysis that was conducted was based on the facts of the project. We do regret the typo in the staff report, but we do have programmatic ways of dealing with drainage, and those have been applied to this project. And it was reviewed and conditioned and evaluated by our land development engineering department. And it was in consultation with them that we determined that no additional mitigations were required and that the drainage could be handled by the improvements that are shown on the plan. And separately, we also have the project engineer here who I believe would be happy to also address this question if you'd like further clarification. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, I understand that may have been a typo. However, down in section B, it states that specifically 6.5% in buildings, leaving the remaining in landscaping. Given the small amount of the site that would be developed with impervious surfaces, it is not likely that the proposed project would not substantially interfere with groundwater recharge. I would argue that half the parcel is not a small amount of the site, right? It is a large amount of the site. So this entire section feels like it was really written based on an assumption of a 10,000 square foot impervious area rather than a 100,000 square foot impervious area. I would like to see potentially additional mitigation added, or at least request that the applicant consider things like pervious pavers, green roof, rain harvesting, in order to try to reduce the impact. The other question I had specifically on hydrology, which I think you already answered, is the staff report says the applicant is proposing installation of a 4 to 6 inch inlet for storm drainage. So I just wanted to understand if we are draining the water into the storm system, or if we are in fact treating the water on site and infiltrating it. But I think you already addressed that it's some amount.
Correct. Through the chair again, my name is Rob Salisbury, principal planner with the county. Yeah, it's a combination of both. Some amount of water. So the site has been designed and the project's been designed to route all water that would drain off the site to be captured in detention basins. And that allows some of the water to infiltrate back into the groundwater. And then, of course, some of it will go into the city of San Jose's storm drain system. And like we always do when we have projects in close proximity to a city, we do send a referral to the city, allow them to make whatever requests or suggest conditions of approval. And that was done in this project. They did not express any particular concerns with storm drainage. As I said, our county engineers reviewed the project and determined that our normal programmatic approach to site drainage was appropriate here. But of course, if it's the pleasure of the Planning Commission to ask the applicant for additional mitigation measures, of course, it's within your purview to do that.
Okay, thank you. And then a couple more questions. I apologize. So I have a couple questions regarding the traffic. So again, there was a conclusion in the CEQA report that there is going to be no impact on traffic based on 49 trips during the AM peak hour. 49 trips seems like a gross underestimate, given that basically everybody for those 174 parking spaces will be arriving within, give or take a half an hour time span. So I'm wondering where that 49 comes from.
For this question, I'd like to defer to the project engineer. I'm not a traffic engineer.
Okay.
So I believe pardon me, through the chair, I believe, again, the project engineer, Amanda Musi-Verdell, is here.
Okay.
She might be able to answer that question.
I can ask that question later then. So then I will, well, let me ask a couple of these because they're directly from the report. But I think there is a statement in the CEQA initial study on page 59 that says, according to the traffic analysis, use of the multipurpose building and the church building will operate activities concurrently. So I'd like to understand what that statement means, because one building has 601 seats, the other one has 400 seats. And if they're operating concurrently, that suggests 1,000 seats being filled.
Through the chair, if I may, I can answer and clarify that question. So my understanding for clarification is that the church and the multi-purpose building will not operate concurrently. It's one or the other. That is the understanding from the project description. So.
And if I could clarify through the chair, as we understand it from the applicant who is also here, there are rare occasions where there might be some, during church services, some use of the multipurpose room, like for children's activities and classes simultaneously. But according to the project description, our discussions with the applicant, we don't ever anticipate a situation where both buildings are going to be at full capacity at the same time. And it was through discussions with the applicant that the total number of people during events was listed at the number that it is.
Okay, so maybe this is a typo. Maybe this was supposed to say will not operate concurrently?
Well, there will be rare occasions, as I said, where there will be people in the church, and then there will be a few people potentially in the multipurpose room. So technically, at times, there will be people occupying both of those buildings at the same time. But we don't ever believe that they will be at full capacity simultaneously.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, clarifications, commissioners of staff? Okay. At this time, I'm going to ask, is there anyone who wishes to disclose any ex parte communications or site visits? Vice Chair Rouser.
I did visit the property, and I talked to the applicant.
Commissioner Levy.
Yeah, I visited the property as well.
Okay. Commissioner O'Donoghue.
I spoke to the applicant.
Okay. At this time, we will go ahead and open the public hearing. If the applicant is present and you'd like to speak, please come forward.
And to the chair, I have two speaker cards, one for Amanda Musi-Verdell and one for Micaiah Ermler, and both for the applicant, so that would be 10 minutes to speak combined.
Hello. Thank you so much. My name is Micaiah Ermler. I get to represent our church. I'm so excited to be here tonight. This is a long time in coming. So thank you, Planning Commission, for taking time to hear our application. We've been very excited to present this project to you. And our building project is one that we believe is going to be a great asset to our community. Our church is 11 years old, and we've been at 13 different portable locations. My wife and I started the church 11 years ago. And many of the people in the audience tonight are from our church, and they're here to support the project. And we have been really looking for a place that we could move in to have a permanent location. But as we consider this building project, we want to continue to be the pillar of encouragement that we are to the community. Throughout COVID, throughout all the ups and downs in the Santa Clara County that we've dealt with, our church has tried to meet the needs of our community, and we find that it's easier to do that when you have a permanent facility to be able to meet the needs of the community. So our building project, we believe, is thoughtfully designed. We believe it's not only a place of worship that'll directly benefit the residents of the county, but we also want to work diligently to ensure that we are meeting all the zoning requirements, environmental standards, and the character of the surrounding building. We know that any building needs to be responsibly considerate of our neighbors, and so I have several letters in my possession from the Basking Ridge Neighborhood Association voicing their support, as well as other associations from District 2 voicing their support. And then a resident who lives 1,000 feet from the proposed site also sent me a letter today voicing their support for our building project. And so our goal is not just to build a church, but to continue to enhance our great community. And so we respectfully ask for your support this evening to approve our building project. And we hope that you will. If you don't, you're going to see me crying in the corner, hugging myself, but that's okay. You're always welcome at Southridge Church. We'd love to have you anytime. But thank you so much, Planning Commission, for your time. I appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Musi-Verdell. Very good job pronouncing my last name. Not easy. I was thinking tonight of what to say for this project, and it is, I kept on coming up with nothing because it is such a great project. And, beautiful architecture, blends into the hillside, is transitioning between the industrial site that actually is under construction across the street, and the residents, and then rural residential property to the side. I want to thank Clara for taking on this project. Our original planner left the county, and Laura picked it up in the 11th and a half hour and took it to the finish line. And so, though she did a great job, I have a couple corrections. The blue, I don't know, they used to have a little, back in the old days where you could put something up, but the blue on this is the city limits. Yeah. So that may help clarify what zoning is county and where it's city. So the hillside zoning is only kind of up, so north and to the west of the site. The rest is in the city limits of San Jose. Answering questions about stormwater quality, the site is subject to the C3 provisions that every project in Santa Clara County is required to meet. We meet those requirements, and we're correcting Rob just a teeny tiny bit that we're providing bioretention, not just a detention pond. So bioretention actually treats the stormwater. It's unlined, so the water infiltrates into the soil. We actually have good perking soil, so the stormwater is encouraged to infiltrate. Also, part of the bioretention pond, which is the preferred method of treatment from the regional board, provides evapotranspiration on the top, and the beautiful plants that also clean the soil, so the stormwater. So the stormwater is treated up to the 85th percentile, which is required by the state, infiltrated where as much as possible, and then any excess water will be detained and metered out, as Rob said, to the pre-development rate from the 2 to the 100-year storm. So no extra water is going off the site. As far as AM peak traffic only happens during weekdays in the morning, and I'm not a traffic engineer, but I think it's 5 to 7 a.m. and 4 to 7 p.m. It's basically whenever you have to be riding in a carpool, and the carpool lane is the peak traffic in the area. So since our main traffic happens during the weekends, it doesn't coincide with peak traffic events. And those were the things that I wanted to clarify. Is there any other questions of staff?
Commissioner Levy?
Great. Thank you very much. I think actually the project's appropriate located. Right across the street, there are all these massive tilt-up industrial buildings going up right now, and Basking Ridge is right around the corner. If staff could put up page 632 from the packet, it is the layout of the buildings themselves, because I have a couple questions concerning the buildings. On the multi-purpose room, where
Can I stop you for 1 second? Are
Yeah.
you asking staff questions or the
yeah,
applicant?
no, I'm asking staff to put it up, and the question is for the applicant.
It is for the applicant. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Go
but
ahead.
we could probably continue with the questions while we're waiting. So if you look at the multi-purpose room, and there's 400 seats in there, are those seats movable? So that you can take them out and you can put tables in, you can put seats around the tables, and you can host dinners or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, I mean, basketball games, anything you could think of, this room is made to
That's right.
accommodate.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that was my
Yeah,
anticipation.
yeah.
And so if you, right outside the lobby, there's, identifies a 3 to 5-year-old room and a 0 and 2-year-old room, and then there's a blank area next to the break room. What is that?
That's an outside courtyard.
It's an outside courtyard.
That's out, because there's an upper gathering courtyard, but there's a one right here. It looks like it's enclosed. And it's adjacent to the break room, and I'm just curious if, there's sort of future plans for a kitchen there so that you could host events,
No, we weren't. It might be a warming place, that would be it, but we would not cook food or prepare food there.
Okay. And then, I'm sort of, and one of my questions is, the hours of operations that staff is recommending are fairly limited. Saturdays, limited in the evenings, on Sundays. Are they too restrictive if you want to start having various events, Easter fairs, whatever the case is? I know from my place of worship, there's always things going on. Our community room is always being rearranged with chairs and tables, et cetera, and hosting events, various fairs of different kinds. So do you think that our conditions for hours are a little overly restrictive?
For us, sir, thank you so much for addressing this question. They are a bit restrictive. However, we tried to be conservative. We want to be good neighbors, and we're trying to be conscientious of our neighbors next door at the Baskin Ridge, since their backyards would butt up against the property. So we're just trying to make sure we're good neighbors.
Yeah. Well, compared to the industrial parks next door, I think it's going to be pretty limited noise coming from your area. Let me see.
Apologies, Commissioner Levy, if you could restate the packet page.
Oh, it's
If you
okay.
could restate the package
This
page.
was, it's page 632. It's the floor plan for the buildings. I know the package says 594, but there's actually more than that. It
Yeah,
goes
well,
beyond
we are
5.
pulling it up, just a moment.
Okay.
You need to bring back your overhead projector. I got it.
That's right.
Can I ask a clarifying question while we're waiting?
Of course, Vice Chair Rouser.
So the condition of approval 7 says operational hours during the week, Mondays to Thursdays shall be 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Can,
I would say minimum 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. On that, and then Commissioner Levy just took my point too, that I think maybe be a little liberal on the weekends, because
Yeah.
to the extent you are successful, then,
We would
without
appreciate
going to
that.
midnight maybe, but you may be pushing those boundaries, and as much as we love to see you, we don't want to have to see you come back and say, oh, can we have another hour,
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
A question about your use too. Do you plan on having a religious school?
No, sir.
All right, and that is not something that you have in your future plans as well?
No, sir.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
Oh, I was asking if they were planning on having a religious school at all. All right, and they said no. Great, thank you very much. I think that's it for my questions right now.
And to Commissioner Levy, the packet is quite big. It's still loading, and we will display it when ready.
Well, they answered my question
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
so I think we're all right.
Perfect, thank you.
But I'm going to ask one question really quick before you go, Commissioner Belska. Would you be amenable if we adjusted your operating hours potentially if we all agree?
Oh, we would greatly appreciate that if the commissioners would approve that. Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
okay, we're not there yet, but I just thought I'd ask
Thank you.
before we go that direction. We're not there yet, though, okay? Commissioner Belska.
While we're talking about the conditions of approval, I do have a question, and this one might be addressed more to staff. I did notice that at the 11th hour, we got.
Can we hold questions for staff and stick with applicant questions first,
Oh,
please?
sure,
As a
sure.
matter of order.
Okay,
Do you have any questions for
do.
applicants still?
I do.
Do you have multiple?
I do.
Okay. Commissioner Headley, do you have a multiple? And Commissioner Cohen, do you have multiple?
I have 2 for staff.
Okay.
I have one for the applicant.
Okay. Commissioner Belska, would you be okay if I let them speak before, considering you probably have quite a longer list than they do? And I'd like to let them, okay. Let's go in order, Commissioner Cohen, and then we'll do Commissioner Headley, so please feel free.
Thank you. I was just curious about 2 specific things for staff. Following up on the question about the hillsides and reading the hillside zoning guidelines, just what's the balance in your analysis of when we make recommendations on the hillside zoning and the protections of open space in relationship to the development? That would just be helpful as a new commissioner to understand that. And then maybe it will happen in the motion, but if the recommendation did not include amending the hours, what would the process be for those to come back if that was a need of the applicant? Thank you.
My name's Rob Salisbury. I'm a principal planner and zoning administrator for the county. Happy to try to answer those questions. And I guess I'll start in reverse order. So if the hours are set through conditions of approval, and if there's a desire to amend those operating hours later, then there would be a need to request for formal modification of the condition of approval that specifies those hours. That could be initiated by the applicant or by the planning commission or by staff, but it would require an agendized hearing and a formal action by the planning commission. And then your question related to hillsides. The zoning ordinance specifies the uses that are allowed within the hillside district, and religious institutions are one of those uses that are allowed. And so then it's up to staff and the applicant to try to determine the scope and scale of a project that might be suitable for the particular site.
So I have some questions about some of the findings, but I'm assuming that's for after we're done with these
If we can
kinds of
stick
questions.
to questions of just the applicant first, we will go back to staff that you can ask
Okay,
questions.
awesome.
So do you have any for the
I
applicant?
do.
Okay.
I'm wondering about your, the seats. You have 601 seats in the church itself, plus the 400 in the multipurpose room. But it says it appears as though your maximum estimate for attendance is 375. So what's the story between that difference?
Absolutely. I don't know if when you go to the movie theater, if you like it when it's packed. I don't like it when the movie theater's packed. So people tend to have that mentality when they come to church as well. We like each other, but we don't love each other enough to sit by each other. So everybody wants a little bit more space. And so on special occasions, though, the church really likes each other, Easter, Christmas Eve. That's when typically we do fill it up. Now, the multi-purpose building, the reason we have a second auditorium that seats 400 seats is for, on occasions, on Saturdays, we'll host weddings, maybe a memorial or funeral service. So we would like to be able to accommodate, because the auditorium, the way it's designed with the balcony, is not as feasible for weddings and things like that. So that's where we thought this would not be a nice way to serve and benefit our community and our neighbors. However, there also are worship that happens. The children and young people, they have age-appropriate worship as well that happens in the other building. So it's not 400 plus 600, 1,000. No, it's the same amount of people. Their young people will go, and we have Bible classes for all different ages as well that'll happen. So some might be in the auditorium while I'm teaching, and some may be in the other building, but it's from the same group, so it's not this overwhelming amount. But we did want to have a space that could accommodate up to 400 people because our church also, and I believe this is specified, we do banquets. So we don't have a large donor that is funding this project. Our church members are funding this, and so we do yearly, we'll have a banquet, and it's a fundraiser dinner that we'll do. And so this allows us, so we don't have to rent a facility, we can now use our own and save that cost. And so we wanted to have a facility that would be able to accommodate our congregants on site.
So when you talk about your maximum estimate for attendance, that's an average?
Yeah, currently we average about 266 people. We would like to have some space to grow a little bit, but not to overwhelm traffic and overwhelm the neighborhood as well. They're already dealing enough with all of the tilt-up buildings that are coming along. So we're trying to be as considerate as possible.
So what would you imagine in the event that you described where you have you want to do one big blowout event? What kind of numbers are you thinking about there?
Yes, so on Christmas and Easter, we would anticipate filling up our auditorium. But then one of the things that our church is currently doing is we are moving to multiple services. So to keep the crowd size small, so we would have multiple services. I believe this is also included in our application, that to keep the crowd size small so we could accommodate everybody in the building and not overrun traffic, and even our own volunteers, sometimes it's a lot to handle. So we're gonna have multiple service times. That's why we are asking for times in a normal church. It seems like, why would you need it from 9 to 9 or such? It's so that we can accommodate multiple services.
Okay, and just one more quick question. In terms of the hours for events, do you have how do you envision, what kinds of activities are going to happen in those evening hours on weeknights? So I hear folks saying 9 o'clock's too early to stop. I'm sure there are other folks who would say 9 o'clock's way too late. I'm trying to sleep by then. Do you have sort of a strategy for how you're going to manage those activities to minimize the noise impacts?
Yes, and thank you so much for the question. We right now do something, and we call them life groups. They're basically Bible studies. And so it happens for students, for adults. We also offer places for if anybody's recovering and they are dealing with substance abuse. It's a like AA that they can come to in the evening, and that typically would operate between the hours of like a 7 p.m. to a 9 p.m. We would not want to encourage any late night parties, even if it's a wedding. That's our church is fairly tame. We don't get too wild. So no, we keep it fairly calm. So 9 p.m. is more than fair. And then sometimes we do call the church together for special times when our community is going through something. We open up our doors for prayer, for support, to really be a presence and just a place that's an open door for our community, depending on what the situation needs and what our community is going through. We're very involved with our current neighborhood, and so we support their activities. And Mayor Matt Mahan, he's hosting some events there, and so we're looking to just, how can we support the community? How can we support them? So if they needed a facility from 7 to 9, they would have access to our facility as well if they were going to do some type of a gathering. Because right now they're using Ledesma Elementary School cafeteria, and so we would like to be able to just offer that to the neighbors in the community if they would need it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Belska.
Great, thank you. So this looks like a great project. It's a beautiful building. I am happy to hear that it sounds like the infiltration rate will actually be relatively high. So that's great. That's great news. Right, we really want to recharge our water tables as much as possible. And the fact that, City of San Jose is paving everything around there with industrial complexes is quite unfortunate. Retaining any bit of soil, right, is very important. So I am wondering whether the applicant did consider or would consider additional measures such as green roofs, such as pervious parking, or rainwater harvesting. Are those feasible? Is that something that is not feasible for this project?
Yeah. Well, rainwater roofs are extremely expensive, and the project's not designed for it. Plus, they're putting most of their mechanical equipment on top, so
Okay.
that would not be feasible. Rainwater harvesting, I've done the analysis on several projects. The problem in California is when it's raining, you're collecting the storm water. It's not like, say, Chicago, where it rains an inch every month. So it rains, you get irrigate, you fill up your tank, it rains, you fill up your tank, you irrigate, and do that cycle. In California, when we do those calculations for rainwater harvesting, it rains and you don't need it because the ground's still wet when it's raining. And then you kind of go through the cycle, maybe once, maybe twice, and maybe you could use it in the fall and in the spring, but then it's dry when you need irrigation. So they're not, I've tried with many projects. It doesn't, even endless budget projects, it doesn't end up penciling out and normally doesn't work. And then what was the third one?
Pervious parking.
Pervious parking, the site, so pervious parking you normally put in a site that's about 5% slope because the water will infiltrate and then hit and then drain down and create erosion underneath the base rock, and so it will ruin your impervious paving parking. Because the site is on a little bit of the steeper side, it's not recommended when you look at specifications for pervious paving. It's normally in the 5% or lower, so flatter lands.
So because of the slope
Slope,
is too
yeah,
high?
it's
Okay.
invisible.
Okay. I guess, one other concern I have is that a lot of these calculations are done based on the 100-year storm, except lately the 100-year storm seems to be coming every year. So, is the project sized to compensate for potentially much higher, more intense storms more frequently?
So the more intense storms, the site will accommodate, but if you're getting a back-to-back like heavy rain, even if it's hillside, right, it's saturated and water's running off, so it's equivalent to it being paved, right, because the soil's saturated, so the water's flowing off. So as far as back-to-back storms, this pond will drain out within 48 hours. So if there's a 100-year storm and then a 48-hour pause between and another 100-year storm, it will act the same. So I think that's as good as you could get.
Okay, and then I do have some questions in terms of traffic. So, I understand the official reports all say there's no mitigations needed, it's all great and dandy. Realistically speaking, right, I know that everyone arrives pretty much at the same time, either, within a fairly small window for a service, right? And so you're going to have, let's say, 174, give or take, cars all sort of showing up, all at the same time. And one of my concerns is that the entryway to the single entrance and exit point to the adjoining neighborhood is going to be about 150 feet away from the driveway, which means there realistically is a good chance that there's going to be queuing, potentially blocking that intersection of cars coming in. And I'm wondering whether there's any, and maybe this is a question for staff, right? Because I'm wondering whether there's actually any possibility to request the city of San Jose to do keep clear marking on that road to make sure that as the cars queue up to enter into the driveway, they don't actually block that one and only, in and out into that neighborhood.
Well, two things. One, the streets are the city of San Jose, so that application will be, we actually have to submit in two different plan sets. So one to the county for the on-site improvements, and all the off-site improvements we're submitting in to the city of San Jose. I don't know if you've dealt with the city of San Jose, but their traffic division is very tough. So if they feel like there's a problem, they will make sure. But two things. One, you're talking about traffic entering the site, and there's no parking kind of in the throat of where you enter, so there wouldn't be anything that would block it. Plus, as soon as you enter, you could go immediately right or straight. So kind of having two paths of travels will help alleviate that. And on top of that, Micaiah and the church has a parking attendant, so people with preferential parking get to park in these spots, and make sure that truly people who need the ADA spots are parking in the ADA spots, et cetera. So I think your concern, there is a concern, but I think the site was designed to help address that.
Okay, perfect. And then last question, I promise. During the special events, there is a good chance you're going to exceed those parking spots. Is there a plan for what happens in that case?
That's a great question. So once again, I believe we put in the plan application that we would run the event. So say we were going to do a special Saturday event, we would, and in the past, we've utilized websites where people register to attend at a certain time. We've done events at San Jose Giants Stadium, at Oak Grove High School, where we've dealt with that, and so we're using all these websites where people will register at a certain time because we've dealt with the egress and the traffic flow, because it's very hard to accommodate a large crowd. We handled 4,500 people at San Jose Giants Stadium, and it was much easier to go to a smaller venue and to have people just at different times to traffic. Also for our volunteers in our building, it caused a lot of congestion, and then it helped the experience of people. People don't like long lines or large crowds, so we try to keep the crowd size down. And so that's what we've done in the past, and that's kind of what we intend to do in the future.
No, I understand that, but I mean, I guess not special events necessarily, but let's say Christmas, Easter service, when you do expect to fill those 601 seats, you will likely have more than 174 cars. Where do you anticipate those cars would park?
So a couple ideas that we were going to approach. We were going to see if we could possibly utilize some parking across the street, and see if they had some, or we could possibly arrange an easement with them to see if we could secure 50 parking spots with them. They have not completed construction yet, and so there's no tenant slated to use those buildings. Right now, they're building buildings, but they're lease signs up, so we wouldn't have anybody we could execute a contract with. However, it is across the street, and so we could ask our staff and our key volunteers, here's parking. Plus, we used to rent from the hotel down the street, so we've chartered buses to our property, which is half a mile away, so we could possibly talk to them again about utilizing their parking. There's some really great parking, because all along Piercy and along Hellier, there's several large empty buildings that are just with parking lots that we could possibly contact one of the owners to get an easement to utilize that for parking, and then we could rent some charter buses to charter the people over.
That's great. I really appreciate the fact that you've thought through this. Yeah, and it sounds like you've really considered everything for this project. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Levy.
Yeah, thank you. One of my concerns was also parking, and seeing that if that was full, you wouldn't have enough parking spaces. But there is also that massive county facility a mile away down Hellier, and you'd probably have a shuttle. Use that parking and take a shuttle. So I think you could overcome it fairly easily. Are you considering solar panels or charging stations?
Thank you. Great question. Yes, I own a Tesla, so I definitely want a charging station at the church. So
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, good. So you're planning on putting solar panels and charging stations?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then I can talk to staff and ask if that needs to be conditioned into the project at all. But thank you.
Okay, I would like to, before going back to questions of staff, go ahead and hear from the public. They've been patiently waiting. So, Madam Clerk.
We have one speaker in chambers, Angel Casillas. And if there's anyone in the Zoom room that would like to be heard on this item, please raise your virtual hand. And we have no additional speakers.
Okay. If anybody else wishes to speak, that's in the audience here, you can come up and grab a yellow card and fill it out. It's not too late. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Angel. Mine's short and quick because I know people are getting hungry. But good evening. Our church is seeking approval to build not just a building, but a space where people can find belonging, relationship, and hope in a world that can sometimes be difficult, but also in a world where loneliness, anxiety, and depression are affecting our communities more than they have ever in the past. But this building isn't just about our church growth. It's about growing our impact in a positive way in our community. Our church isn't new to the city, and this community. We spent years investing in the people of the city through outreach, through support, and by creating meaningful relationships. We've helped families in crisis, supported local youth, and simply we've been a place where people can find friendships, relationships, and moments of peace and rest, again, amongst this difficult world. We've seen firsthand how powerful it is when people are surrounded by a healthy community, a community that's built on values like kindness, love, self-control, goodness, patience, which also reflect the very characteristics of Jesus. And these aren't just spiritual ideals, but rather they are qualities that make better parents, better neighbors, better coworkers, and citizens. This building project would allow us to do even more for the community. And we believe it would be a benefit not only to our church, but also to the immediate Basking Ridge community, but also to the Bay Area as a whole. And I just want to thank you for considering the positive impact this building could bring to the city. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Any speakers online?
We have no additional speakers.
Okay. So is there any additional comments from staff at this point?
Through the chair, if I may, I just wanted to add, there was a question from Commissioner Levy regarding if there is a condition for electric vehicles, and there is within the conditions of approval. And it is condition number 23 in the original condition, or it would be condition number 22 in the clean, updated conditions of approval. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and if there's any questions of commissioners to staff, now is the time. I see Vice Chair Rouser's light is on, so with that.
Yeah. This is not very high on the priority list, but on condition 64D, there's some wording on there, and this has to do with the, and it's also on the wildlife, on grassland vegetation and invasive weeds shall be mowed to a 4-inch height or treated with herbicide annually before the grass grows to an average of 4 inches in height. And then this is the sentence that kind of confuses me. In unusual circumstances, when rains occur after grass is mowed, grass may be allowed to regrow or need to be remowed.
Sure.
I want to make sure we're all clear what we're forcing on these people. Now, I live in San Martin, and probably late January, we're already at 4 inches. And the requirement for us is, I believe, April 30th, we have to have 30 feet mowed on our property. And even then, late rains, and he keeps growing. So I'd just like a little bit more explanation on that particular one.
Sure, through the chair, if I may. So the purpose of that is to say that the grass needs to be mowed annually, and the grass should be mowed to a height of 4 inches. And if there's rain and then there's additional growth, then of course it needs to be mowed again. So that's the intention of that condition.
Am I the only one that sees an or in there, and therefore it doesn't seem to? What you explained, I understand. What I'm reading there, I'm not getting that. So,
Yeah.
again, I just thought that was kind of weird, so.
If I could, through the chair, we're happy to revise the language there to make it a little bit clearer.
Let's just go ahead and do that. I think a rephrasing is necessary. Thank you.
Glad to save the day there.
Good job, good job. Commissioner Belska.
Yes, thank you. Shortly before the meeting, we received a new set of conditions of approval, and I noticed that the requirement for the 174 parking spaces was crossed out. Can I ask why that change was made?
Sure, through the chair. So the condition is a little bit redundant because the condition above that, specifically condition number, let me just go quickly. Condition number, let's see, 4. Condition number 4 specifically says that the proposed development shall take place in accordance with the civil plans, as well as the condition number 5 in accordance with the architectural plans, which does identify the 174 parking spaces with the 7 accessible parking spaces. So condition number 6 is a bit redundant, so that's why we remove that.
But Jacqueline Anciano, Director of Planning and Development, if it is the prerogative of the commission to keep the condition, just keep the condition for clarity, if that's what's desired by the commission.
I mean, I think saying something like a minimum of 174, right? Because then that doesn't necessarily restrict them. They can add more, but if that is in fact how much is required in order for the building capacity, that seems like a reasonable thing to leave in there and have it be explicit.
Through the chair, Jacqueline Anciano, I'm not sure that that's what's required. I think they're providing more than what's required by our parking standards. Is that correct, zoning administrator?
Yeah, that is correct. In our zoning ordinance, we have criteria for parking, and it's based on the use and characteristics. So the project, and perhaps the applicant can, or the engineer can clarify, but I believe there's 11 parking spaces more than the minimum required per our zoning ordinance.
Okay. I don't have a strong feeling on this. I just wanted to understand why it was
Okay,
removed.
is that your final question?
That is my final question for staff, yes.
Okay.
I have some requests, but that can come with the
Okay,
motion.
you need to hold that for a second, okay? Commissioner Headley, please.
Thanks. I would love to have a little clarity from staff about the kind of how you balance the local services against the rural character requirements in the general plan. The staff report, it's great to see a plan put forward that has community support and everybody's excited about it. But the staff report cites RLU 18 as sort of describing what's an allowable use in that zone. And it seems like the takeaway presented is that because it supports, the church supports a local community through services, it meets that standard, but the letter of the standard seems completely different to me. So maybe that's just because I'm new to this panel. I don't know if this has been addressed many times before, but looking at the language of RLU 18, it does not seem as though a church necessarily requires by its nature a remote or rural setting, nor does it by its nature support the recreational or productive use, study, or appreciation of the natural environment. So I just love a little more context as to how those conclusions are reached.
Yeah, happy to do that. Again, I'm Rob Salisbury, Principal Planner and Zoning Administrator. So it's often the case that there are, broad general plan policies that are then implemented by the zoning ordinance, and there may be some disagreement, but the zoning ordinance does specifically state that churches are allowed use in the Hillside zoning district. And there are general plan policies that encourage, in some cases, other uses and more restrictive uses. But again, this use is allowed per the zoning ordinance with the use permit.
And if I may, through the chair, this is one of the issues that we're having to deal with the rural zoning update. And so this clarity that you're seeking is what we're bringing forward, because it is not as clear. In some jurisdictions, churches are allowed in any zoning designation. But we are currently looking at this issue, as was brought up by one of the SIMPAC representatives. And so it is an issue that we will be bringing forward to the commission.
And just to follow up, understanding that they are allowed under the ordinance, they're seeking a use permit, which is an exception, essentially, to discretionary decision. So I do think that the general plan policies are relevant in our consideration of whether to make an exception and offer a use permit for this purpose.
If I may, through the chair, I see uses, Commissioner Levy. The use permit is the entitlement that's required for the use. When we speak in the planning profession of an exception, we're looking at like a variance, an exception to a particular setback or a height limitation. But we have specific land use entitlements that are required for certain uses. So this is a land use entitlement that is being sought for this particular use. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind speaking to this for a moment. These are discretionary land use decisions, and in the case of this church, it is surrounded by the city of San Jose and very dense uses. And so this is not out of character with the area, although it may be a little bit with the general plan designation. You know, there is question, there's room for question there. If you look at the previous project we had, I was totally opposed to that project 5 years ago, and still am, because it is a massive, complex project in a very rural area, and I don't think it met the criteria for being appropriate within the general plan. And that's why I asked if I could condition it, which I knew I wasn't going to be able to, but and I didn't want to, take that risk anyway. But there are two different, you have to put into context of where the development is. This development is in an urban area. It's surrounded by urban up for the most part. The last project we had was urban, it was rural, it was entirely in a rural area, and it was far denser. And so you have to take into consideration. So I think the way you were asking made perfect sense with the last proposal. But on this one, since this is already an urban area in essence, at least for the most part, you have to put that into context.
Elizabeth Bissers, Lead Deputy County Counsel. I would just, I think what you're getting at with there's an allowed use, but it's subject to a use permit. You're right that imagines that there may be particular projects that would not be appropriate for that zoning designation, and the way that we protect against that is having these findings that are required in order to grant a use permit. And so the idea being that if the findings can be made for this project, and that's what the Planning Commission is here to decide, then that is an allowable use within the zoning district.
Vice Chair Rouser.
I'd like to, if we could, just return back to the hours of operation and put a proposal forward on that and make a motion. My proposal is Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sunday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. There are still noise ordinances that apply, and I'm sure that those would be adhered to as far as the late nights. But I think to the extent there are wedding events, a lot of times you can't have those very effectively during the week. So Friday nights, Saturday nights would be very conducive for that. If you're having multiple services, there are some of us that like to get up early, go to church, and then get on with the day. And so 8 o'clock, a lot of churches start at 8. So, you know, who's to know what's going to happen in 3 years, 5 years, and it may be a couple months by the time, and you're just like, ah. So hopefully you are successful and you'll be using that facility. So I make a motion that where's the wording on that?
I'm going to hold you right there
Okay.
really quick because I just thought of something. Would the applicant come up really quick? I want to ask you a quick question regarding hours.
Okay.
You might like this, you might not, but
Yes.
in terms of your events, and I know that people do book weddings on Fridays now, it is a thing. Would it be something you think that there's possibly a wedding or a special event, and I do mean a special event, not a common occurrence, that on a Friday you might possibly go till 11 if you had a wedding booked? Because I've been to multiple Friday weddings.
Yes, that would be something that if it was allowed in our application, that it could potentially go that way, especially if you factor in, you got to have janitors come back in
Well,
and do
there's
cleanup.
cleanup, there's load the car, there's all the things. Yes.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
So a Friday and a Saturday till 11 would capture enough extra time for those sorts of things for your parishioners, correct?
We'd be very grateful
Okay,
if you would allow it.
okay. So I would suggest, as an amendment to your hours, I'm sorry. Monday to Thursday.
Don't twist my arm. Okay.
Monday to Thursday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Friday, Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. with Sunday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Although I'm not an 8 a.m. church person, I praise people that are. I'm the 1:30, and I'm grateful to the Catholics for that because Mass is very long. Setting that aside, are you amenable
Yes.
to adding
Yes.
that before you try a motion?
All right, yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Levy, do you have a comment, or do you want a motion?
Just a point of
Okay.
clarification, because I agree with you. I think
Yeah.
the hours weren't long enough on Friday.
Yeah.
Does the 11 o'clock, or does the closing hours mean all people off-site, or does it provide a half an hour of cleanup afterwards? You know, janitorial service, or is it just, this is it, 10 o'clock, we're done, or there's a little latitude, you know, the janitorial service is allowed for a half hour afterwards?
In my mind, there is latitude, but all operations cease at that time. So the
Yeah,
wedding
all-
ends at 11, and now we're just putting the
wedding-
trash in the trash can kind of thing.
That's my perspective as well.
Yeah.
That's what we said on the rodeo.
Yeah.
The event is done, but then
The
there's,
event-
Yeah,
events
we-
have to be done.
No,
So, okay.
literally, we do mean a rodeo that we approved, not that the event is a rodeo.
And maybe we need that.
You had to be there.
Maybe we need that clarification in the conditions.
Okay. So,
If I may, through the chair, is that events only? I mean, the event is over,
yes,
so they still have time.
they would have time to clean. I mean, we could phrase it with that operations cease, or the event ceases at 11 p.m., but some sort of language of cleanup occurs for the additional hour till midnight, but that's only what's occurring. The wedding doesn't keep going, the dancing ends at 11, and you have to leave.
Yeah.
And then from 11 to 12, you can throw the trash and do all the things.
do we have to
You
get
have a
that
thought?
specific on it? I mean, ultimately, no one
we-
from the county is going to be sitting there with a watch going,
Well, I think it's one of those things that we don't want to have to come back because somebody complained and said, but you didn't say, and there's people in a building after 11 p.m. Do you see? I see where Jackie's going, and I see where you're at. I'm not the one that's going to go complain if you're cleaning a building at 11:30
Yeah,
at
I'm just
night,
wondering if you
but-
want to give half-hour latitude on either side for, the event's over, but you have a half-hour latitude on either side for setup or cleanup.
but how
It's
did we
very
do it with
limited.
the rodeo? We didn't.
We didn't. We just
Right.
basically stated that you were cleaning after that point, but the actual event operation was
Again,
done.
I don't want to put a stopwatch on.
Yeah.
Because you got to put all the potentially move
I mean,
the
we-
chairs, set
we
up for
could-
church the next day.
We could, well, yeah, I mean, we could literally just say event or service operation cease at 11 PM and at 9 PM. And that's it, and,
Yes, 11 o'clock.
yeah. Because that's the intention, is to
Right.
give time for the event and the service to continue up to that point, with an understanding that at some point, somebody has to come in the building and clean it for the next day. So, I mean, we don't set that on office buildings when everybody goes home at 5, where we say that someone can only come in from 5 to 9, and so I think it's a given. I think we're okay. Okay? Okay. So, I will stop talking. And I'll give it back to, okay. So you're ready for a motion, Commissioner Balska, and are you? Or,
I just have a quick question.
okay, hold 1 second. Commissioner Headley, are you ready for a motion?
I have
or-
a comment on a motion.
Okay, so Belska and then Headley, and then we'll go back to Rouser. He hasn't created a motion yet.
Well, I'm
No.
ready to.
That's why I'm asking, are they ready, or they have clarifying questions or comments, and they do?
Yeah.
So we're not here yet.
My clarifying question is, do we have two motions on this hearing? There's one for the CEQA and one for the use permit, et cetera, et cetera? Because on the staff report, they are listed as two separate approvals.
Well, my motion would handle both of them, but
Can we separate them out?
if I make a motion and we don't get enough votes for it, then that would be our next course
Then
of
you could
action.
propose another motion
Yeah.
after, but he's already poised to,
But we are not, because they're separated as A and B.
we're not required to take them
required-
separately. We can conjoin them.
If I could, Elizabeth Vissers, lead deputy county counsel, approving the project requires approving CEQA. So you could not choose to
Undo that
not
together.
approve CEQA and then approve
Right.
the project.
Commissioner Headley, do you still have a comment?
I'm not sure where and when I'm supposed to make a comment. If we don't have a motion on the table, I just wanted to share my opinion about the motion that's been discussed.
We don't have a motion on the floor
Right, so
yet,
I
so
hold
you
off.
can't comment on a motion that doesn't exist yet. So once the motion is made and seconded, and then we open for discussion, you can, at that point. Okay, so back to Vice Chair Rouser.
I would like to make a motion that we approve adoption of the CEQA mitigated neg deck, make the required CEQA findings and adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. Grant the concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit, architectural and site approval, and grading approval, subject to the conditions of approval in, I want to say attachment A, but it's been revised with the exception of number 7 and 8
Yeah.
to be changed to include the hours Monday through Thursday, 9 to 9, Friday, Saturday, 9 to 11, Sunday, 8 to 9, and special events must fall within those hours. That may not be as clean as it needs to be, but
Second.
my motion.
Commissioner Rouser's motion.
Okay, so we have a motion from Vice Chair Rouser and a second from Commissioner.
And clarification of that 64D wording. I mean, not
the mowing of
clarification, but a revision of that.
Correct.
Yes.
Through the chair, just a point of clarification, there was a commissioner that asked for the condition with 174 parking spaces. Was that?
She did not put that in.
Oh, okay.
She did not. Once it was answered that there was additional parking that they added in that was not required, it died there.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. So again, we have a motion from Vice Chair Rouser with a second from Commissioner O'Donoghue. So now, is there any discussion on the motion? This would be your time, Commissioner Headley, followed by Commissioner Belska.
Great. I can't support I cannot support the motion, unfortunately, because I'm finding myself unable to make finding A which requires a conclusion that the proposed use conforms with the general plan and the zoning ordinance and all the other standards and guidelines. And I apologize if I'm just misunderstanding, but I'm not at a place where I can comfortably make that finding, given my reading of the general plan. Additionally, I think I'm disinclined to kind of change the hours from the dais here. As a planning commission, I feel like that creates something of a bait and switch situation for the community. I think the project proponents have worked really hard to work with the community and develop a plan that works for them. And we don't know what those conversations were, if there were a lot of concerns about the hours and they settled on 9 because some neighbors, whether part of the church or not a part of the church, said, no, you can't do that. I feel like we don't have the benefit of that back and forth, and it doesn't feel appropriate to me to be making those changes on our behalf. I would encourage them to see how it goes and come back to increase the hours in the future if that's something the community supports. Thank you.
Commissioner Belska?
Yes, bear with me here. I'm trying to find where this was, because I would like to add a friendly amendment to make 2 corrections to the CEQA document. One would be to change the 10 to 100,000 square feet of impervious in section J under hydrology. And give me a second, I'm trying to find.
Can you clarify that a little bit better for us and for staff, if you can find the page, so we're all looking at the same thing?
Let's see, hydrology,
If you don't mind,
section
please.
J, section JJJ. That is page, that is page, it's page 44 of the CEQA initial study. I don't have the packet number. But this is the page that states, the proposed development consists of new impervious surface of 10,579 square feet. That is actually 104,579 square feet.
Can I make a comment?
Vice Chair Rouser wishes to make a clarifying comment on that.
What we are approving, what I stated there, we've already stated on the record that that's a typo. So that's already, so what we're approving is the body of evidence that has been put forward on this thing, whether it's written, oral, and everything. So I think because that was on the record and they admitted to that was a typo, I think that's already in the record. Am I right?
We're happy to correct the typo.
So we don't necessarily need to, you already have done it, so just, I mean, you've already stated that it needs to be.
I don't think it needs to be in the motion
Right,
if it's noted that there's a typo for staff to correct.
That's my point.
As long as
It's
it's on record, it is on record.
Okay.
Peggy, you look like you have something to say.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
As long as, for purposes of the minutes, if there is a document that's going to be changed, which it sounds like the CEQA document will be changed for a clear record, it is good to have the page number. If there's a section number, just state the section and state that, 10,000, it will be substituted for 100,000 or whatever those numbers are. And if it appears in more than one place, those 2 documents. And if there's technical stuff and y'all want to, if you would like to take a 5-minute recess to gather all that information and then come back with sort of a line item motion, you have the discretion to do that.
Okay.
Once you're done with all of the
Right.
pieces.
Okay. Let's do this. Let's take 5 minutes.
Well, let's
Please-
see if there's any other ones that we need to.
Hold
okay,
on, hold on.
You're not chair anymore.
Let's take 5 minutes. If anybody up here on the dais has something they wishes to reference as a typo, please find the page, find the correct verbiage, and then when we come back, we'll do all of that, and then we'll go back to our motion again, so it's clear. Is 5 minutes enough? Yes? Okay. All right, so 5 minutes, please.
We will put 5 minutes on the clock, 5 minutes on the clock.
Calling the meeting back to order. Madam Clerk, if you wouldn't mind taking roll, please.
Commissioner Hedderly.
Here.
Commissioner Cohen.
Present.
Commissioner Belska.
Here.
Commissioner O'Donoghue.
Present.
Commissioner Levy.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Rouser.
Present.
Chairperson Escobar.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're still going to take a pause on the motion because right now what we are going to do is any typos, things of that nature, a rephrasing, this is the time to call it out with a page number, that sort of thing. And this is what we will do first. I know that staff was working on a rephrasing. Did you want to do that, or should we start with Commissioner Belska?
At your preference, I do have revised language for the mowing condition that I'd be happy to present to the commission.
Okay, let's start with that.
Okay.
That's an easy start. And then we'll go to Commissioner Belska, and then after that, anybody else who has language that they need to point out for clarification. Then we'll go back to the motion and anything related to that piece. Commissioner Levy, we do have a motion on the floor. Let me remind you. So, staff, please.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson Escobar. The alternate language that we've developed here will say, grassland vegetation and invasive weeds shall be mowed to a 4-inch height or treated with herbicide annually before the grass grows to an average of 4 inches in height. In unusual circumstances, when rain occurs after grass is mowed and the grass regrows, additional mowing or herbicide treatment is required.
What about goats? I'll accept this.
Mowing by any means necessary, okay? Goats, dogs, push mowers, gas mowers, okay. All right, so Commissioner Belska, please.
Staff has my comments.
Yeah, so we will revise the initial study M&D to make the following corrections on initial study mitigated negative declaration, page 44. The number 10,579 square feet shall be deleted and replaced with 104,579 square feet. Then on ISM&D page 60, the words "and mainly on Saturday and Sunday" will be deleted.
Does that capture?
It does.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Any other commissioners clarifying language, typos, anything of that nature? Okay, back to the motion on the floor. If there are any suggested friendly amendments, now is the time to make them. If none, then I will call for the vote on the motion that is currently on the floor once we restate it. Okay. Actually, Vice Chair Rouser, do you wish to restate your motion, since it is
No, I
yours?
don't.
Kind of need you to, please.
Well, I didn't write down what he said, so.
Those are corrections, they're not in the motion.
Okay.
Apologies if you could turn your mic on. Thank you.
Thought it was, sorry. I make a motion that we approve adoption of the CEQA mitigated negative declaration, make the required CEQA findings, and adopt the mitigation, monitoring, and reporting program, and grant the concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit, architectural and site approval, and grading approval, subject to conditions of approval in attachment A, with the exception of conditions 7 and 8 would be modified to reflect the hours from Monday through Thursday of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. And condition 64D would be modified per staff's alternate condition, just stated.
Okay. That actually doesn't have to be in the motion because it's a typo and rephrase that they're going to do separately. But, okay, we got it. We got it. It's okay. We do have a second.
And goats are allowed.
Okay.
I'll re-second
Okay.
Commissioner or Vice Chair Rouser's motion.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that again? Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please call for the vote?
Commissioner Hederle.
No.
Commissioner Cohen.
Yes.
Commissioner Belska.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donoghue.
Yes.
Commissioner Levy.
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Rouser.
I approve.
Chairperson Escobar.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
Congratulations.
And if I could just read the appeal period statement. Anyone who is dissatisfied with this decision by the Planning Commission may appeal the decision to the Board of Supervisors within 15 calendar days by filing the appropriate documents and fees. More information about appeals can be found on the Planning Department's website and in Chapter 5.30 of the county's zoning ordinance. You may contact the planner assigned to this project with any questions regarding how to file an appeal.
Levine Act?
We do not need one.
Okay. All right. So with that, we are moving forward to item number 8, receive report from chairperson. I do not have a report. Item number 9, receive reports from commissioners. Is there a report from any? Okay. Commissioner Cohen, please.
I just want to state, after speaking with the clerk, I want to let my colleagues know I'll be traveling in April, and so I'll be missing the meeting, and I'll send formal correspondence. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cohen. Item number 10, receive report from County Council.
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Did the housing element get approved?
It did. It has been certified. I may be stealing Jack's thunder with that one.
Item number 11, receive report from the Planning Commission Secretary. That's you.
Thank you, Chairperson Escobar. I do have a brief report from Deputy Director Ms. McHale that I discussed with her before she left for vacation. So just wanted to inform the commission that we recently promoted Senior Planner Joanna Wilk to Principal Planner. We did lose a Senior Planner, Robert Kane, took another position with another agency for professional development. And so at the moment, the Planning Division is down 6 planners. Due to budget constraints, we were approved to move forward with recruiting for 2 Senior Planner positions. And we will shortly embark on requesting positions for assistant planners so we can, train and hopefully retain those planners for the long term. And that is the extent of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 12, receive report from Deputy Director of Planning Services, Department of Planning and Development.
I think that was when I was supposed to give the report I just gave, so I have no second report.
Okay.
Thank you.
So 11 and 12 combined report. Item number 13, receive report from Director, Department of Planning and Development.
Yes, I would like to let the commission, thank you, Chair Escobar. I'd like to let the commission know that our housing element was certified February, was accepted as substantial conformance by HCD February 5th of this year. And we continue to process the applications, the SB 330 or Builder's Remedy applications that have been submitted, but we are not accepting any further applications. As you all know, excuse me, we are looking at our service delivery model, and so we'll be coming forward with some modifications in the coming months with how we're providing services. Just so that the commission knows, we are considering for housing development applications or state mandated, like our Assembly Bill 884 and Assembly Bill 2234, accepting applications by appointment only, because we are finding that we need to provide, and we desire to provide better customer service to the residents, and we have to be able to monitor these applications that are coming in. Those applications have a requirement that they must be processed within a time limitation, and so we have to be able to monitor how those applications are coming in so that we're meeting those deadlines. So we will be bringing some changes forward in the coming months.
Thank you. Item number 14, announcements and correspondence. I am acknowledging that we did receive correspondence, which is item 14D, ID 123718. I will also go on record in saying, please do your annual 700 statement before you get dinged for that if you haven't already. Moving forward, item number 16, we are adjourning to our next meeting Thursday, April 24th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the Board of Supervisors chambers. Thank you.